welcome back to my channel. So in my last video, which is my end of fall semester vlog, I wanted to talk about my programs, SFM or Sustainability and Financial Management, but I was only able to kind of chat about the academic side of things. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the more non-academic part of my university experience. So things like extracurriculars, career or co-op, and stuff like that. And the things that I'm going to be discussing in this video could also be applicable to AFM or other SAF kids, or maybe even if you don't go to Waterloo at all. So hopefully you guys find this helpful. And if you just came for the uni vlog and don't really care about this, then hopefully my voice is not too distracting and you can just treat it as background noise. Next up, I'm going to be talking about extracurriculars. So the main question that a lot of people are probably going to be having is, should I join extracurriculars? Is it easy to balance them? So I would say, if possible, you should join them, because they're a great way to get leadership experience and meet other first years and also get advice about school and co-op from upper years. I feel like a lot of the knowledge that I have about different firms or different kind of areas or practice areas I got from talking to upper years or talking to my execs and stuff. So I would definitely recommend joining it if you can. In terms of balancing extracurriculars with your school and social life, once again, it kind of depends on you and your priorities. So all the clubs will understand and even tell you to prioritize school over extracurriculars. But if you are in an exec position, they will expect you to be able to balance both, at least most of the time. So definitely keep that in mind. I would say, honestly, the most stressful part was definitely September, when application seasons open, for exec positions. For me, I kind of applied to most of the staff clubs, so I was kind of balancing a lot. And there was just those couple weeks in September where I had a bunch of interviews and a bunch of applications, and it was honestly kind of a mess. But yeah, moving on to the next thing that I think some people may be curious about is, do you need to join in your first year? And so for most staff clubs, I would actually say yes, you do need to join in your first year, in terms of if you want to be on the exec team, because how executive leadership structure works is you get quote-unquote recruited as a first year, and then in second year you move up to a higher position, and then whoever decides to stay in their third year, because a lot of third years drop their club so that younger years can have more experience, whoever decides to stay in their third year ends up moving to the highest position, so usually president or executive director. So for example, I'm on the exec team for UW DECA, and I joined as a first year as a junior logistics exec. So next year I'm going to be one of the VPs of logistics, and then in my third year, if I choose to say, then I would either be the president or an executive director. However, for most non-staff clubs, you can just join whenever. So for example, some of the clubs that a lot of staff kids join include AFSA, Women in Finance, 180 Degrees Consulting, etc., etc. A caveat for AFSA is that they mainly recruit first years. I think in my committee, which is internal services, which is one of the bigger ones, we only had one second year aside from the VP in our committee. So that's just something to keep in mind. They usually don't recruit third and fourth years, but I think by then you probably wouldn't really have a reason to be joining AFSA. So yeah, first year is kind of also where you get the most benefit from being in a quote-unquote professional club, because it helps you build experiences, especially since you haven't done any co-ops yet, which is another reason why I would recommend joining in first year. But if you're talking about more recreational clubs, then it doesn't really matter when you join. So the next question that I feel like some people may have is, which ones would I recommend joining? And so I would say, obviously, the most common advice is true, which is join clubs that you're actually interested in. So one of the reasons why I apply for almost all the staff clubs is because I enjoy planning events and helping people through these events. But yeah, a reminder for this is that for the staff clubs specifically, is you can apply for all of them, but you can only join one staff club, and they will tell you what is defined or what constitute as a staff club. And so the executive teams of these clubs will communicate with each other to see who wants who, and they will also ask you what your preference is. But yeah, just a reminder, they don't want to overload you too, so you can only join one. So in terms of clubs overall, I joined UW DECA, AFSA Invigorate, which is the festival that the Faculty of Environment hosts every year, and I also joined the UW cheer team. So the next section is probably going to be pretty short, but it's just co-op and career. So for me, one of the main questions that I had was, do SFM kids get the same networking or career event opportunities as the AFM kids do? And the answer is yes. So before I joined, I didn't really know how the kind of networking stuff worked, but essentially it's just for example, certain firms So like a lot of the big four firms, if you guys are familiar with that terminology, but a lot of the firms will host kind of information sessions or networking sessions as early as the beginning of the year, where you can, I don't know if I'm pretty sure they're probably going to still be online this year, but for example, they may like talk about the firm for a bit, and then they will break you off into breakout rooms where you will talk to different people that work at the firm, and you can kind of ask them questions and see what it's like at these different firms, and then also like connect with them on LinkedIn afterwards. So these opportunities are pretty much, I mean, I don't know if they're like necessarily closed off to people outside of staff, but if you're in staff, people will tell you about it. So for example, once you start the program, like you will be added into like a staff learn classroom, and so they will kind of make announcements whenever there's like a networking session or like an exec application and stuff like that whenever one opens, and so that way you're kind of notified about these events. So AFSA actually, which is the student association that I was part of, so the committee that I was a part of, internal services, we host a lot of like professional networking events sort of too. So for example, we hosted like a Q&A panel where we brought in a couple of people from that worked in various fields that were related to kind of staff, and then we invited people to kind of ask them questions and stuff. And also for like the case competitions that UW-DECA or like UAC, stuff like that, like the case competitions that the clubs will host, they will usually have a networking portion afterwards. So that's also a great opportunity for you to meet new people and get to know kind of what people in investment banking do, what people in audit do, stuff like that. Another thing that people might be wondering is how can you prepare for co-op in your first year? And so honestly, I feel like the main advice that I would give is probably just to go to as many networking events as possible, because one, this will help you make more connections. Two, you can learn more about different fields and get a better understanding of what it's like at different firms, which will help you kind of tailor where you're going to apply for future co-ops. And three, it will help you practice your networking skills, especially if you're kind of awkward and not as outgoing like me. So lastly, I'm just going to be talking about kind of how easy it is to make friends out of SFM, or in the program too, I guess. So for me specifically, this year SFM was a pretty small program or cohort, just because it technically is not like an official program yet this year. So there was like around, I think like 20 of us. I mean, now there's like 15. But yeah, there's not that many people, so it's pretty easy for everyone to kind of get to know each other, or at least be friendly. But I know that next year there's going to be around like 80 people, 80 to 150. I'm honestly not sure, but yeah, we'll see. Anyways, and so in terms of making friends outside of your program, it depends on your personality and also your residence. So if you live on UW housing, so like V1, MKV, or Rev, then you'll probably be able to meet both AFM or other staff kids as well as other programs. I would say if you want to make AFM friends specifically, then you're probably better off living on V1, MKV, or Rev, because that's kind of where most of the AFM kids live. If you live in the university colleges like I did and you befriend people, there's like a 95% chance that they won't be in SFM or AFM. So if you want to make mainly non-staff friends, then maybe try one of the university colleges. I would obviously recommend St. Jerome's, because that's where I lived and I thought it was pretty good, but it's up to you. I'm pretty sure there are only like 3 AFM kids in St. Jerome's, and I didn't even realize that they were there, or like I didn't even like see them until like I think like April, which is like the month they're gonna move out. So yeah, I will say though that like one of my closest friends that I met at St. Jerome's, she's a second year, but she's in staff, but she's in Mass CPA, and yeah, but that's not, I would definitely say that's not really common, and I think she was the only other staff kid in my floor probably. So yeah, if you live off campus and you're kind of limited to either people you knew before university or people you have classes with, which will most likely be AFM or SFM kids. So yeah, that's kind of all of the things that I wanted to talk about SFM. I hope you guys thought this was helpful, and if you're not in SFM or you're not thinking about going to the program, then hopefully maybe these tips were still helpful, or if they're not applicable to you, then hopefully my voice wasn't too distracting. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the vlog, and have a nice day. Bye.
Time with me. won't you let me in? So we can get back on the same page. Well, tonight I wanna stay in a way. Don't you just talk to me? 'Cause when you spend your time with me, you're speaking my love language. Talk to me, talk to me. We don't need a translation. When you spend your time with me, you're speaking my love language. Love language, love language. When you spend your time with me, you're speaking my love language. Love language, love language. When you spend your time with me, you're speaking my love language.
Sometimes it can get rough when you've had enough. I'll be your Don Corleone. When you're feeling down, feeling low, you'll never be alone. Not when you're right here with me. Oh, I won't see no you and me. Every time the things get bad, promise I won't turn my back. Even if it takes some time, never wanna see you cry. Girl, you need to know life means sometimes that we fight. At least we're sitting side by side. Giving up, when you're running low on love, I'll be the shoulder that you're leaning on. And when it feels different and things are missing and you're on your worst day, I don't want it any other which way. And when it gets rough, I promise I'll stay. Oh, my heart beats every time you look at me, even when it gets real bad. Never gonna turn my back, even if it takes some time. Never gonna leave you behind. Girl, you need to know sometimes that we fight. At least we're sitting
I know
side by
I wait
side.
for you.